Hi, this is Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I'm here today to do another spin along. Once again, this is not really a tutorial as much as a vlog of me taking you through the choices I make at each step in the spinning process. The fiber I am spinning today is 100% wool roving that I hand painted with dry Kool-Aid, and you can find that video on the ChemKnits tutorial channel. I have a project in mind for this fiber, so I want to spin it in two different ways. The majority of the fiber I want to spin as a gradient. So I will spin through the rainbow and then N-ply that yarn into, an N-plied yarn, which is kind of like a 3-ply. But then I also want to make sure I get a few yards where I have shorter stripes. So I am going to pull some thin sections straight away because I want a very small amount of striped yarn because maybe I can use this for pom-pom tassels at the very end. And actually, I think I'm going to divide this yarn, or this fiber that I pulled out again, and maybe even a couple more times because I want there to be shorter sections of color. It's a bit of a hodgepodge here, but I have 5 pencil thin sections of the roving. Then I have an awful lot left for the main N-ply section of this spinning project. I am spinning S singles for this more multicolored stripy section. This means I am spinning the wheel in the counterclockwise direction. Now, I haven't done a lot of experimentation with Z and S twist myself, except I do know that most knitters and crocheters prefer to use S twist yarn for their projects. I think it has to do with the way you're doing it and whether or not the yarn becomes untwisted as you do it. And since I plan for most of the yarn for this project, I plan to spin that in the Z direction and then N-ply in the S direction, I figured I would do the opposite here. There we go. Oh, there is some straw in my fiber. Let's get that out. But yeah, I've gotten some of this fiber a little thinner than I wanted to, but I'm really starting out with some pencil thin roving. With any luck, this more stripy yarn that I'm spinning will become some kind of pom-pom for my project. But I have not quite figured out exactly what I'm going to do. The design is really only still a bit of a sketch in my brain. I like to frequently stop, not just to move where I am on the bobbin, but to check my progress. But my intent when I dyed this yarn was that I wanted to get some patches of color. I wasn't sure if I would end up with, some twists. This yellow section doesn't have very much color this time. Since I painted with the dry Kool-Aid, the color was really mostly on the side where I added the powder. And so it's kind of cool. The yarn is going to be a little stripy, maybe the color will be a little mottled. It's hard to know exactly how it is just right here. I mean, let's get it in the camera. There are some sections of different color, but I just wanted some interesting variation. Oh, and see, this happens sometimes when you get distracted you can break where you are. Thankfully, this isn't that problematic. See, this is why these videos are more like a spin along than, they're more of a spin along than a, oh, this is how to spin, because I am very, very much a novice when it comes to all of this. Talking and spinning at the same time is a little harder than it looks. Okay. Since I've like pulled these sections so thin at the beginning, sometimes I'm overdrafting. And I'm also going a little too thin, and my whirls that I'm using, the ratios are not that fast because I want my other yarn to be chunkier. So yeah, I need to just start paying a little more attention to what I'm doing. There we go. Almost ready to add the next color. But yeah, and doing some of these dyeing with Kool-Aid and seeing the way that the colors are shaped here, you can really tell which dyes are much more potent. So there's a lot more food coloring in the purple and red than there is in the blue or yellow, which is something that I knew already. This experiment, didn't provide that information, but it's just something to keep in mind, that maybe if I were to do this again, I would double or even triple up on the lemonade flavor. But I still think that the way that things are going, eventually all Kool-Aids and stuff might end up being clear, because people are wanting more natural food colors. But anyway, I am going to keep spinning this small section, and then soon I will be ready to start the bigger gradient. But I'll give you a peek when I finish doing this short section. I really only wanted a couple yards of the thinner, shorter repeats of color. But since I spun this so thin, I think I am going to apply it after all. Even though I did spin it in the opposite twist I would have done if I was planning this out a little better. Whew. But now I will get the shorter repeats of color that I wanted, plus there'll be some mixing, so that should be pretty nice. Yeah, you can see already I've gone through a little bit of my rainbow. I have taken a bit of a break from the spinning project. With the summer heat and spending a lot of time outside with the boys, I found that there's just been a little less time to spend with the wheel. I may be putting too much twist in this, but I'm going to try not to overthink it and just spin. Because as I said before, my plan is for this to become some kind of pom-pom or bauble of some kind, and then I hope to make a hat out of the long gradient of color that I'm going to make. But yeah, I'm a lot happier that I've tried this. And now, it can be a little interesting, because we can compare these short repeats of color N-plied in one direction to the longer repeats of color N-plied in the other direction. And I'm realizing that you really can't see what my hands are doing, but you can see the N-plying is very much like making a huge crochet chain. But you can see the fun colors winding onto the bobbin. Here is the final N-ply approximately worsted weight yarn with short sections of color repeat. I am now ready to try to make the long rainbow gradient in a chunkier yarn, but since this is one fiber turning into 2 yarns, I'm going to actually split this into 2 videos. Stay tuned for part 2, where I will finish up this project. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and make sure you check out the next video.